Hey guys, Aaron Sansoni here, and I'm joined today by none other than Eric Thomas, or E.T. as he's known, the hip hop preacher.
I love it.
All the way from the States, and we're here in Brisbane for a pretty big event, but you know, I've got to look after you guys. I've got to help you out with as much education as I can. I pulled Eric aside because Eric, he does a huge amount of stuff, in his portfolio. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. One of the things I love about Eric is his principles for entrepreneurs that want to have success in their life. Whether you're starting a business, whether you're currently in business, whether you're a sales professional, business owner, wherever you are right now, we want to talk about Eric's 12 steps to becoming a phenomenal entrepreneur and get the greatest man when it comes to this stuff to really explain to us what he's done. He's got a story which I'm not going to spoil because I want him to tell us a little bit about it, but how he's created some success as an entrepreneur and how we can maybe model that and use that for ourselves in our own career. So I'm going to kick it over to you, and maybe let's start off with, why don't you just share with the guys a little bit about your story and, obviously from the start up until all the way, what are you doing here in Australia as well?
I don't know what I'm doing here in Australia. Right. But, I always say, Aaron, that, this is really not about just Eric Thomas, but this is a story of if Eric Thomas can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
Like, you hear people say, it's easy as 1, 2, 3. And so I want people to know I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. My mother was a teenage mom, didn't plan for me. My biological father decided for whatever reason not to be in my life physically. Mom's was kicked out of her home by my grandmother, not because she didn't love her, but she had 14 children in a 2-bedroom house, 1 bathroom. And so mom was homeless, and mom, got a job and, just became a model for us of what you can do when you put forth effort. But unfortunately, because my father wasn't in my life and, some of the things that transpired as a young man, I ended up leaving home at 16. I was homeless, like literally slept in abandoned buildings, slept in cars, ate out of garbage cans, stole food from grocery stores, dropped out of high school, and just, really had this victim's mindset of, if I was born on this side of town, if I had both parents, maybe, maybe if my parents were affluent, I don't know, this wouldn't have happened to me. And so I was just victim. And I think what people need to understand is the day my life turned when I said, I'm no longer a victim. I got myself in this mess and I can get myself out. And it's funny, I always tell people, the police officer that arrested me didn't know the counselor. The counselor didn't know the teacher. The teacher didn't know the counselor. The police officer didn't know my mom. But there was one common denominator, and that was Eric Thomas. And I say to everybody, if you're part of the problem, then you're a part of the solution. So that's my story. Started from the bottom, realized that I could be, and I could do whatever it is I wanted to do if I was no longer a victim, but became a victor and said, this is your life. Now take control of it and do something with it.
Yeah, and I think you're right, though. When you talk about that contrast of I'm choosing not to be a victim. We can't always necessarily know, play a part in what happens to us, but how we choose to react, which is part of it. So, and it's an incredible story. And what I love about it is, and I've had the chance to spend a couple of days with you now and learn more about it. And what I love about it is, we share this similar thing where we're just getting going. The same just before we started. You're just getting going. Greatness. She's chasing me.
She's chasing me. I feel her. She's stalking me.
She's chasing you. So people that are coming up, people that are, at that level where they're the ceiling right now for them, they want to become their floor. They want to bust through it, and that becomes the new. I'm no longer going to go down here and move up. My crowd, the people that really pay attention to, what I train all around the world in 14 countries, the business principles and entrepreneur principles. These guys want to know, well, if I've got a product or if I've got a passion for something, how do I turn that into a profit? How do I take a business idea and go to the next level? How do I turn myself into, somebody that somebody wants to be around, that I can affect people, whether it's to become a coach or a speaker or a business owner or a CEO of a Fortune 500 company or whatever it may be. Those entrepreneurs out there that want to learn from people like you that have been successful. I really want to go through these 12 steps because one of the things I love about these 12 steps is, and I get to interview a lot of really successful entrepreneurs. They're your own. They're your own steps. There's not like, step 1, dream big. It's like these are your steps, that you're going through. So step 1 for you is the initial call.
Absolutely.
So if you're an entrepreneur, even if you're just starting out, what would your first advice for the initial call be?
Well, I tell people all the time, I think one of the greatest mistakes people make is that when they're thinking about a business, they're thinking about themselves.
Yeah.
And the trick is, if you want to be successful, and whatever that means, for some people that means making a lot of money, but you have to give people what they want.
Yeah.
You know, and so many people start off with, how can I make money? It's not about you.
Yeah.
It's really not. It's about, there's a need that's out there, and you have to find a way to meet a specific need.
Yeah.
And when you meet a specific need, you don't have to worry about money. And so for me, when I say the initial call, what I'm saying is that if you have a business and nobody's attracted to it, then you don't have anything at all.
Right.
You know, and so this initial call is, I'm sitting back every day and I'm waiting for, I put this stuff out, you know, whether it's the TGIMs,
Yeah.
whether I spoke somewhere, and I'm hoping that my content is so rich and it's providing such a need that I'm going to just, people are going to be calling me and saying, Eric, can you come here?
Yeah.
Can you do that? Can you do that? So for me, the initial call is that the beginning, you know, when you're dating and, you know, you look at her and she looks at you, you know, it's like, wow, your heart's pounding, you know, you're sweating, you know, you're looking at the phone and you're like, NFL, you're like, could this be the big one? You know, so for me, the initial call is like, when you're dating, that first call, you know, and that excitement and so that's what we should be living for every single day. You know, we should be at this place where I'm waiting for something great to happen. I'm waiting for my and looking for it. Absolutely.
Because I think that there's a lot of people that had the same age as you, went through the same experience as you, and they're still in Detroit.
Yep.
You know, and some of them, you know, have gone through, you know, they might be in jail, they might be dead, they might be, who knows, but they chose not to follow a different path. You know, and I think that opportunity. And I love that because opportunity is what you choose for it to be. You know what I mean? So I think that's important as well. Your second step is about initial, you know, reactions.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah. It's like for the first time, you know, when your girlfriend, you know, and at that moment you have to decide, you have to make a decision. Is this just somebody I'm going to look at and admire, or am I going to make a move?
Right.
You know, am I going to go get that number, that name? You know, what in your mind, whatever it is you think initially, boom, that reaction is going to move you to either be successful or be a failure. So for me, that the initial reaction is like, okay, I'm excited that the NFL is calling, but what do I want?
That's right.
You know, I'm excited that this Fortune 500 is calling, but at the end of the day, Eric, what do you want out of this call? You know, what's step one? At the end of this call, a year from now, what would make you say, man, that was the best call of 2013? So for me, when I say initial reaction, what I'm talking about is that instant thought that comes to your mind and says, what do I want and what am I willing to do to go after that thing to make that thing a reality?
Sacrifice. And
Absolutely.
that's important as well because I think that, you know, that's the right, you know, what am I willing to give up to make that work? You know, and you and I both know working hard, you know, and I know that, you know, we're still working hard, but, you know, I've shared with you some of my stories of staying up all hours and putting stamps on envelopes to get people to come and, you know, to learn about what I do. And people think you just wake up and it's there. You know, someone came along and said, here you go, come and speak on a big stage and affect people. You know,
it didn't happen like that.
Well, it didn't happen like that. So the third one is getting settled.
Yeah, you know, I often do work with the NFL, and there's one particular team I told the guys, you are so focused on making mistakes, so focused on, you know, penalties, you know, or somebody scoring a touchdown on you. You're so consumed with that. And what I want you to do is I want you to get settled for me. Like, get all of that out. Like, ignore the noise, and I just want you to calm down, relax. That initial, you know, when you see her, she sees you, and like, you know, you're getting those goosebumps. But at some point, if that relationship, if you're gonna nail it, if she's gonna be your girlfriend and then your fiance, then your wife, like at some point you're excited about what's happening, but you got to settle down and ask yourself, Eric Thomas, what can you do to help this individual? How can you take this corporation, or how can you take this organization or this person to the next level? You know, so settle down. I know you're excited. Your first NFL gig, your first voiceover. You're going to Australia. Going to Australia. But at the end of the day, Eric, calm down, settle down, and let's. What do you plan on doing when you get there? What PowerPoint presentation do you need? What are the needs of this? Why did they call you? What is it that you're going to do? And so for entrepreneurs, you're excited. You got the initial call. You got your reaction. But for me, it's always there's a confirmed engagement and a potential engagement. So for me, settling down and saying, Eric, is this going to be confirmed? Are you going to sign this contract? Are you going to make this a reality? So I think there's some people in the beginning, they get so excited, Aaron, they're so pumped up, that they miss certain opportunities because they didn't say, let's settle down. Is this engagement for me? Is this something that I can do? All right, now it's time for me to get prepared so that I can deliver.
And I think, and actually I want to take that for a second, because a lot of people think that entrepreneurs generally change that mindset, start to say, okay, what's out there for me, what opportunities are available, but you and I both know that as soon as you open that cage to what's available, everything is available. And so sometimes people are a bit like a kid in a candy shop. It's like, I've got this great idea. I've got this great idea. And I know that, you and I do the same thing. I mean, with me, I've got my own book and I've got tons of ideas. And some of them I have to go, hang on a second. What's going to work, what's not, what's going to help me, what's going to hinder me to move forward as well.
Absolutely.
I think that's great advice. I think getting settled in, I was fortunate enough to play a little bit of professional basketball, and it's first quarter jitters.
Yeah.
Like first quarter jitters. Settle down,
Settle down.
You know what I mean? Not taking so many shots, warming up, and then you get into the game, and then you play your game.
Absolutely.
You play your
Absolutely.
game. So number 4 is about demographics.
Yeah. So for me, at the end of the day, so you're going to Australia. So there's a real Australia, and then there's this American Australia, right?
Which is 2 different things.
Right, 2 different things.
We worked that out.
We had to work it out. And so at the end of the day, even though we're professional and we're good at what we do, what are the needs of the people? What are the specific needs? Like, don't bring in this cookie cutter presentation where you're not really considering who are you talking to. And that's, I love it when we first started. You made me aware of, Eric, this is the demographics that we're going to be talking to. This is the group, these entrepreneurs, people who have talent and skill. And Eric, this is what we're trying to accomplish in this segment. So for me, the demographics, I just want to calm down. Now, let's talk bare bolts. What is it that they need me to do? What can I bring to the table, perhaps, that somebody else, they're my Aaron, of course, we looked you up, we studied you. And what I didn't want to do, I don't want to come to Australia and do what you're doing. And so my thing is, we may do 3 or 4 things alike. Let Aaron take those. Are there any opportunities? Are there any things that you think that you could possibly bring to this group that's unique to your experience? And make sure so when I talk demographics, now, don't be so cocky or arrogant to think that what you've done the last 3 or 4 presentations is going to work here. There are some aspects that might, there's some not. But let's study, let's find out who we're dealing with, and let's make sure they don't just get a one-size-fits-all suit, but they get that tailored experience.
And I think that's part of it is being a specialist or being a generalist. And when I speak to people and they think of an idea, I say, which is one part of what I've already gone through, who's it for? Will they buy it? Who else is doing it? So, who is it for? Who is your target market? So an entrepreneur, demographics is really about, who is going to purchase that? Who's going to give you money for your product or service? Perfect. So for number 5, it is call my lifeline.
Oh, man. I
thought I said wifeline for a minute. I thought you were going to call you wifeline.
Well, sometimes I do have to call my wifeline. But, I think this is key. Because sometimes we make a mistake in thinking that I can do it by myself. I'm smart enough, I'm talented enough. And I'll be honest, I've been speaking for years, but I had a situation where I told you I was working for the Lions the other day, and I had a conversation with CJ, who's the president. And it's like, I've been speaking for years. I know I'm good at it, but he literally played football. It's like, Eric, you didn't play on the highest level. Like, high school, you just never, you weren't that great. You didn't stay. So he played the game, understands the game. So what I have, I already have. So let me add to that. So I'll pick up the phone. Here's a scenario. Here's what I'm speaking to. What do you think? Well, Eric, you might want to focus on this, this, and that. Got it. Bingo. And I think what a lot of people do as they're preparing for whatever their entrepreneurship is, they don't understand. We're on the plane, Aaron, we're talking, and I mean, you said some things that really are comma changing. When I say comma, I'm talking about.
I know. Dollar sign comma. We're speaking of entrepreneurs, so it's all good here.
Okay. All right. And there's some things that you shared with us. I don't even know that it was deliberate because I didn't come knowing that we would connect, but the law of attraction. And so there are things that you're sharing. Lifeline. There's some things that you're sharing with me because of what you've seen and what you've experienced and where you've been and the great things you've done, maybe even some of the things, mistakes that you've made, and you're sharing that with me, and you're about to change my life, my family's life, my team's life, and so I believe, call the lifeline. I tell people, I know you're smart, I know you're beautiful beyond measure, you're talented, I get it, but no one person knows everything. And humble yourself and reach out to people who are experts in the field so they can help you.
It's having mentors, because one of the things that when I first started, I was arrogant. I thought I knew everything. I came off, being a great sales executive, making great money, and then I went to business. I thought, well, I know everything now. And my first business failed miserably because we had like £20,000 to spend a business in England, and that was our working capital to keep the whole thing going, and I spent £18,500 on 4 adverts, and they returned me $75 or pounds in their money. So a massive failure, because I thought I knew everything. It wasn't until I went on this journey of finding mentors that knew what I knew, and I've shared with you about some of my mentors. I've got a mentor who's 16 years old because he knows what I need to know about online marketing. I've got mentors that are in their 70s, because we've got to break down, I think, what we want out of success and go, well, mentor for this, and mentor for this, and go and find out. You know, I said to you, I think on the plane, I said to you, I'm the kind of guy that goes up to the guy in the gym with big biceps if I want that, and say, how did you do that? What did you do to get that? Because you have the result as well. So I think mentors, spot on, and I think you need to have those to be able to grow your company as well. So number 6, preparing to travel.
Yeah, you know,
talking about like packing your shaver.
You know, and I am, but I think at some point you got to stop talking about it and be about it. And there are people who spend a lifetime preparing. They spend a lifetime, you know, doing research and making the phone call. And at some point, like, you got to play the game. At some point, you guys got to lace up the shoes. You got to grab that ball. You got to get on that floor, and you got to get out there and play the game. You know, and so for me, it's like, Eric, okay, you've done all the preparation. You know, you're excited. You know, Australia, come on. You know, I mean, passport, check. You know, packing, check. You know, you're going to take so many pairs of shoes, check. You know, but at some point, Eric, you can't take, when you travel, you can't take everything. So what tools do you need to take? And so as entrepreneurs, you can't do everything. You can't take every engagement. You can't take every tool with you. You can't take every presentation. So this is where we narrow everything down, and we say, here's the opportunity of a lifetime. I have to nail that opportunity of a lifetime. In the lifetime of the opportunity, no more talking, no more playing. We both probably have 1,200 principles. But for this audience, at this particular time, here are the 3 most important tools that we can give them. Let's get them. Let's dust them off. Let's shine them. Let's do what we need to do. And let's hit reality. And let's go make our dreams become a reality.
And I say that for when I say a lot of people that, you know, come and they do our course or they get mentor advice, is this analysis paralysis. They spend the whole time analyzing, should I do it? And then you meet people that you would think that wouldn't be successful, but they just took action. Even if it was a half-baked idea or product or service or something, they just went,
they moved.
Let's just do it. Let's just, you know what, let's just kind of get on there and do it. And I think it's a really good call as well. So number 7 is the pre-game preparation.
Yeah. And like I said, you know, I just believe that what you are to be, you're now becoming. You know, and so I'm hours in the bathroom. Hours in the shower. You know, hours of physically pretending that I'm literally there. I tell the jokes, they didn't laugh, Aaron. So I said, don't tell that joke. It wasn't funny in your mind. It probably won't be funny when you get there. And so this pre-game of praying and meditating, you know, and rereading and re-studying and just, you know, making sure that, you know, every T, boom, every I, boom, dotted. Just trying to make sure my mind.
Putting yourself in state. Putting yourself ready to focus.
Getting there.
You know, both you and I go and speak on big stages now. We can go out there and speak, but if we go out there and you're here, you know, because we want to bring everyone to that level as well. That pre-game ritual. So keeping yourself in state, making yourself focused, and making yourself, you know, to forget all the naysayers and that kind of stuff, and keep sharp. You know, doing that as well, and that's part of you say.
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes I run. There might be certain music that I listen. People think it's just basketball players, just football players, maybe just soccer players, just rugby players, you know, whatever. But no, there should be something that you're doing to get yourself in a place where when it's showtime, bam, got it.
Now, for me, when I was growing up and I was a sales professional, I would be listening over and over and over again in the car on the way to a presentation. You know, this what I needed to do, and just, you know, being pumped up, listening to the Rocky, listening to and then when I got in there, they had no chance. I was so pumped and primed because I was ready and I was in that state as well. So I agree with you. It's about putting yourself in that point where you're just ready to tackle it, which is awesome. So number 8 is speak to everyone.
Yeah, and this is just my own personal ritual. I believe that I'm very intuitive. Like, we all have gifts. And so for me, when I walk into, you know, I could do a football team, and I could do 3 football teams and walk in and see, with one football team, these guys are not confident. professionals, or this group of guys are settled. They're, hey, we're making millions.
Yeah.
And so when I walk in, I'm looking in their eyes. So I'm saying, hello, how you doing? But not for the sake of just saying, hello, how you doing?
Yeah.
But for the sake of trying to read this individual, gain some insight. You know, research says, yeah, but now I'm with this actual audience. I am literally in that place with this particular group. And so now I'm talking, I'm listening. You know, for instance, we're on the plane, you're talking about this event. So when I say speaking to, I'm actually creating a relationship with you in preparation, because you are a genius in this particular, you know, arena. And so by listening to you, there's some nuances, there's some things that, you know, you might say that sparks a story or an experience, and it's like, bam, I go in and I do what I need to do. So I just believe in speaking to everybody in the moment. It's different than a mentor, you know, because when you're talking to mentors, you're talking about an isolated incident, whereas you're on your way here, the crowd is coming, everybody's there, and you're kind of getting into that moment. You know, and I always say, I wish I could have this moment for life.
Bottle it.
You know, I wish I could just, and so when I'm feeling that, it's like, boom, once I go, there's no hold bars from there.
Firecracker.
Yep.
It's gone. All right, number 9 is my moment.
Yeah, yeah, and I will never forget, I was in Egypt, and it was a beautiful moment. My wife has been with me since I was 17 and homeless. And I mean, just imagine there are 10,000 people in the crowd. And so, you know, sometimes there are those of us who work. We grind. And when we get to that place that we dreamed of, we don't cherish it.
Yeah.
We work, just grind. And you're there. And you don't take 30 seconds, 60 seconds to just relish the moment. And so Dee Dee's up in the executive suite, and like I said, it's 10,000 people. I walk down the stadium, and I'm coming down, and there are about 16 white stairs. And as I'm walking up the stairs in my own private space, because of my faith, I'm thanking the Creator for this opportunity. I'm thinking about my wife, how we were teenagers, and I told her I was going to do this. And here it is, we're there, and I say, Eric, don't rush, take your time. And I walk up those 16 stairs slowly, and I turn around and look at the 10,000 people. And I just sit there for a moment and say, wow, we made it.
Wow.
And then, boom, I speak. So I'm saying to people, you know, that you've worked hard, enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, I don't know how, you know, maybe you do it afterwards, I'm not sure. But for me, just as I'm getting ready to speak, I walked in today, I saw you preparing, and I'm sitting there, and I know people are thinking, where's Eric Thomas? Where's the energy guy? But I'm sitting there like, wow, I'm in Australia.
Yeah.
Like, I am here.
Yeah.
We left Melbourne. We're in Brisbane. I'm like, whoa, we're touring.
Really well, Brisbane.
Yeah. I'm like, this is unbelievable. And even to be in this spot with you, because for me, I'm saying this moment, because I understand a year from now what this relationship is going to mean to me professionally, and I'll never be able to come back and get this again. This initial before we, okay, Eric, that was cute when we were on the plane, but I need this paperwork. I have some deadlines for you. I need you to do this, then. So that's coming, you know. But I want to relish this particular moment.
Yeah, and I think that that's really about gratitude, you know, and being grateful. And I know that, you know, years ago I was getting some great success, and I was making, you know, great money. And I went to the showroom to buy my first brand new car, not a beat up, you know, car that barely worked. And I bought this. I was $150,000 on Mercedes, and I drove it down to the showroom, and I felt pimping. I felt you couldn't stop me. 2 weeks later, I hopped in the car, and I was like, it's just a car, you know. And I thought that for 6 months or 12 months before that, that was the top for me. That was, when I get that, I'm going to feel this. And I realized at that point, well, actually, I didn't realize I had, you know, a girlfriend at the time around me, that when you're trying to fill holes with things to make yourself feel good, and I thought, you know, you're wrong, you know, but obviously she was right at the time, you know. So I think that you're right. People have to, if they're constantly looking for this thing, this void to sort of fill, they've got to be grateful for the little things. And for you to go from 16,000 people, you know, what, 15 years before that, 20 years before that, 25, you were literally homeless. You know, you had a wife, the same wife you're with to today, 23 years and fabulous kids. And you stood there and you went, I'm going to appreciate this, I'm going to take this in as well. And I think that gratitude, sometimes when it's an entrepreneur coming up, we forget that you don't have to be an Eric or an Aaron to then go, I've made it. Yes. You can go, I got someone to think about or invest in my one little product,
That's your moment.
or I had somebody believe in me
Absolutely.
or be inspired by me.
That's
as
that
well.
moment.
And then you take
Yeah.
that because it's all it is taking one, stacking on,
Yeah,
stacking on,
yeah,
stacking on,
yeah,
stacking
yeah,
on,
yeah.
and then you feel it. And you feel it constantly because you and I, we both share this, is that we always feel that gratitude and we always feel that moment as well. So what about number 10, which is being the greatest servant?
For me, Aaron, at the end of the show, I feel like now I can work. I've got a chance to go up. They've listened to me during this moment.
Yeah.
And there are 2 or 3 people in that audience, like Eric Thomas, who they just need me, to speak life into them. And I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, when we land that deal, we think, like you said, that's it. It's not it. That is an opportunity to leverage that particular moment for another moment. And it might not be your moment, but it might be somebody else's moment. Somebody who's literally listened to hours and hours of Aaron's information, and they just feel like you just changed their life forever. And for them to get 60 seconds to just sit there with you and say, you changed my life.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, here goes. Here's that chance for somebody who's like right at the edge to not even necessarily say anything, but just to serve, to say, oh, yes, I believe it. We had a young lady yesterday at our signing, and she said, I need a 95, in order to go to the university. And I looked at her and I said, if you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you can't. And I said, I don't know who you are and how you feel about yourself, but I'm telling you, you are a beautiful young lady.
Yeah.
You are intelligent beyond measure. You're phenomenal. But I need you to believe that. And you could see. And so then I signed a book for her, and I put in the book the 95%.
Yeah.
And she said, oh, you wrote in the book 95%. I said, I need you to do me a huge favor. When you get to 95%, I need you to tweet it out to me so I can tweet it out to the world. So for that moment, I got to serve her. And she said, I'm your biggest fan. I said, no, I'm your biggest fan because without you, there's no Eric Thomas. Every video that you forwarded, you told somebody about me. You changed my life. So for me, after the show, that is my chance then to inspire people and take them to a whole nother level.
And I love that because I think that's, and you and I share this same thing, that we both want to help people change. I mean, my vehicle is helping people change through turning their passion to a profit, taking their business to the next level. You inspire millions around the world, and we both have, we've created great lives for ourselves, but we're focused on serving people. We're focused on helping people to go from
Absolutely.
where they are to where they want to go. So for an entrepreneur, if you focus on what that product or service really means to them, what they're going to really benefit from having that, and you help people to achieve that, the money comes.
Absolutely. And I believe that with all my heart. You reap what you sow.
I love them. 2 left. What's learning time?
Again, I think that people believe just because they're an expert in one thing, they're expert in everything.
Yeah.
And so when we finish this weekend, this will be the first time, Glenn, this will be the first time, Aaron, that I will ever be in your presence. And right after I finish this presentation and we finish this weekend, because we have an idea of what we wanted this weekend to be, I have an opportunity now to learn. Now, we were fortunate because we were in Melbourne together, and you said to me, Eric, listen, so I didn't have to wait for the event to end, but that was my opportunity to say, it's time to learn. It's time to sit at the feet of someone else who has experienced a measure of success. And this is not time to say what you've done. This is not time to, give your resume. This is not the time to be a big dog and, go try to go tat for this. I've done this, I've done that. But this is the time to say, Aaron, this is where I am. Do you see any opportunities of growth for me? And you definitely said, yeah, Aaron, here's some, I see X, Y, and Z. So for me, the presentation is over, but I've taught. Now it's time to learn. And I believe that it's reciprocal. You give, you get. You give, you get. And so for me, when the event is over, that's when it's time to talk to people and say, are there any opportunities for growth? And if they are, what are they? And then what kind of commitment do I need to make to you to help me to get to that level?
And I think with business owners, a lot of people, they don't take the time to look back at that. And what I say to them is that if you've just done really well, if you've just had a great product launch, if you've taken on a staff member and you've inspired them to change your business, look back and see, how did I do that? You know, I wasn't an accident. How did I do that? You know, if you're playing a sport and you now can dunk with two hands instead of one, what did you do over the last 6 months to get yourself to that? What is it that you did? Because if you want to have greater success as an entrepreneur, one of the best words to explain is leverage.
Absolutely.
Right? You have to leverage. So
Absolutely.
if you're great at what you do, you have to teach someone else at some stage to do that. So looking back at how you made mistakes and how you created success, you then can blueprint that and say, here you go.
Absolutely.
This is how you do it as
Absolutely.
well, and serve other people.
Yeah.
And the last one is detox. Tell me about that.
You know, I just think a lot of people, they don't understand that, again, the way life is, when you take something in, you gotta let something go.
Yeah.
You know, that's as far as I'll go. You just can't just keep taking in.
Yeah.
And some people don't understand it's the same way in business. And so for me, and especially because CJ doesn't travel with me, much. And so first thing I'll do between...
You're amazing. Assistant, guru, second-hand man.
I mean, that president,
he's over,
creative guy.
Yeah.
So I'll pick up the phone and call. See, I know you couldn't be here, but man.
Yeah.
And I'll just tell him about the entire story. This is what happened, and this is what happened. And I'll call my wife, and I'm getting it out. This is what happened, and this was happening. And I call my administrative assistant and say, look, I'm going to forget this in a month. So I'm just going to say everything I've learned. I'm just getting it out. You just scribe it somewhere, and later on we'll turn it into a book or a DVD series. But I've been so, like, this trip, it's just been, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
I want to say life changer, but then I want to say game changer. And I was blessed. The hotel, I know, is the Crown, but that particular hotel, that's the Crown.
Yeah.
And I was excited somewhat because we didn't stay there. I saw the pool.
Crown Towers,
So it's like Crown Towers. My wife has to, she'll come and it'll be complete.
We'll leave the wives there.
Right. And so, for me, it's like, this was a life-changing event.
Yeah.
And I've got to tell as many people as I can. I've got to do at least 2 TGIMs. I've got to share it with the world. And what I was given, detox, I got to get it out. Then I'll go home. We'll do an, I don't say this often, but a petty Manny. I'll go with my wife.
Yeah.
She loves the spa. And I'll go with my wife and spend time with my wife, just trying to, relax. I'll get on the plane and I'll listen to music. I'll go run. But I'll do the things I need to do just to detox.
And being present. We talked about this, didn't we?
Absolutely.
About the difference between sitting on the couch and watching a movie and being present with your wife or your partner who you really care about as well.
Yep.
So you've had phenomenal success in speaking, in business as a CEO, as a business owner. You've been the #1 on iTunes in I can't even remember how many countries.
Yeah.
You've spoken around the world. You've inspired and helped so many people. What's next? I know you've got some audio books coming out. What is next, and how can people learn more about you and follow you and just take in everything that you have to offer?
Well, and we talked about this on the plane ride, but what's next for me is finding out, how we help the people we help more, more in depth, how we give them more tools, more time. The book, Greatness is Upon You, we're right there. Like, we've just finished all 24 chapters, and our graphic designer is doing a couple of things. We've got a couple mentors who are looking at it. But the book is next, and I'm excited about the second book because I just want to show the crossover. They've seen the right, but I want to show the left. And this is more of an empowerment book. And again, Aaron, for me, I want to show the world that I've grown.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to do something that I'm not doing myself. Yeah. And so you'll look at the first book, you'll look at the narrative. The second one, still that Eric being transparent, and storytelling. But a lot more of, I'm holding you accountable. Yeah. This isn't the story of Eric Thomas now. Yeah. This is about you, and what are you doing every day to make yourself better. So the book, of course, and just trying to find more ways to duplicate myself so I can be more present with my wife. Of course, my son's in the university now. That's a great experience. He's right up the street. Yeah. And then really putting more time into my daughter. She has her last, sophomore, well, what you would say, maybe second, third, and, fourth year, senior year. And just really pouring into her and spending time with her, because once she goes off on to college, everybody says she's beautiful, so I'm sure once she leaves, she might not come back.
You're gonna lose her.
Yeah, I might lose her, so I want to spend as much time as I can with my family. And I just want my family to know, even though I'm traveling the world trying to change the world, that I've not forgotten my #1 priority. And then you also know I'm a pastor of a church. And so those obligations to try to help my congregation to continue to grow, and make their dreams become a reality as well. So yeah, just trying to grow up, man. And I like it. You said something earlier. Not only grow up, but grow out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm listening.
So guys, you heard it here. E.T. I've only spent a few days with him, and we've been blessed to hang out and spend time with him and his family. And etinspires.com is where you can go to learn more about what Eric's doing. And let me tell you something, Eric does more than just inspire. You know, he really does change people's lives. And you guys out there, I know that's what you want to do through your products, through your services, through whatever it may be. But remember, it's got to start here and learn these 12 principles and go and kick some ass. So thank you so much, my friend. I'm looking forward to kicking ass this weekend.
Let's get it.
And we'll have so much fun.
Absolutely.
So we'll see you guys soon.